welcome to the webcast on the topic Modern Enterprise PKI Migration and Management. This webcast is organized by us, by Deloitte, in cooperation with the PrimeKey and AppViewX, and with the infrastructure support of the Tricky company. A few words regarding the organization. You can submit the question if you would like to. Any question you will came with will be answered during the webcast, or we will come back to you after the webcast. It depends if we will have some time after. I believe there will be. So for the interaction, you can use the questions. Don't hesitate to use it. You can also put there any feedback you will have during the webcast. For example, I was looking into the Google for something like jokes regarding the certificates and PKI. So it's really welcome. If you know something, you can submit, because I wasn't able to find anything. Okay, so let's start. Yeah. This is the overview of our webcast. So what you should expect from us during the webcast. We will do a short introduction where you can see the expectation and the team who prepared the webcast for you. We will be presenting what kind of software we will be using during the live demonstration of the migration of certificates, which is EJBCA Enterprise, AppViewX, and you will see how to do it, how we are approaching the migration in the Deloitte. Then I will present a simple setup in the laboratory environment we have currently, where will be the demonstration presented. And of course, then we will show you how to do it, what should be your consideration in case you would like to do a migration or consolidation of the PKI, and you will also have a contacts on us in case you would like to reach out to us anytime. So let's begin. This is the team who prepared the webcast for you. So I'm Roman Cinkais. I'm a director in the Deloitte in the Cyber Risk Advisory, and I will be presenting during the webcast. Malin Ridelius, product marketing director from PrimeKey, and Alan Roy, marketing manager from the AppViewX. So I believe you will really like the webcast because I believe that the effort we put into the webcast and everything related to it is really nice, and you will see it. Yeah, enterprise PKI and migration. So what does it mean exactly? I believe that all of you have some, at least basic understanding of the PKI certification authorities and so on. So in that terms, what we call a migration is a one-to-one process where you are transforming your old certification authority from whatever reason, which may be some business change, maybe compliance requirements, maybe you were really short in time in building your CA, and now you have a better idea how you would like to operate and you would like to migrate to different solution. So the migration is usually the one-to-one process. We are migrating one certification authority to another certification authority in the new infrastructure. And with the migration, you should ask the different questions before you will start to do it. What's the important questions are usually: where are your keys? How are you managing the keys and any other related cryptographic material? You need to know if you are using HSMs, if you would like to use the current HSMs, or you would like to migrate to different vendor and so on. You should be aware of what certificates were issued in the certification authority you would like to migrate. In case you don't have such information, you should try to find a way how to get the list of the certificates. You should be aware what standards or regulation is applied for your public key infrastructure. So when the procedures and policies are designed, everything will be incorporated. So there will be then no issue during the certification audit, for example. And of course, very important is to have a skilled and experienced personnel, so you can successfully and effectively migrate and after that manage the PKI. So all of these, and there are many more questions you need to have answer for before the migration. And what we call a consolidation is a set of different migration processes. So let's say you have several certification authorities. Maybe you are using different technologies, or you have several physical servers where you are running the certification authorities, and you would like to consolidate all of that to one consolidated and consistent infrastructure where you can operate all of these certification authorities in a consistent manner, and in that terms it should be much more effective. So you can imagine that the consolidation is something like the set of different migrations. So I believe that this is okay for you. We will be using the terms of migration and consolidation during the webcast. So it's important to know what is the difference when we will be speaking about. What we will be using during the demonstration is that we are going to migrate certificate from the Microsoft Active Directory certification services to the EJBCA Enterprise, which is a software for the certification authority developed by PrimeKey. This is one part of our migration process, which will be used. And I will show you some basics how you should be prepared before the migration, so you can be sure that everything will be smooth and correct. And after that, I will show you how it's propagated to the EJBCA Enterprise through the profiles, which is something similar like templates of the certificates in the Microsoft CA. So this is one part which we will be using. A few words regarding the deployment, because I believe that most of you are familiar with the Microsoft CA, but the EJBCA Enterprise works in a different way. So the first important point is that the EJBCA Enterprise is a multi-tenant solution. So we are not going to migrate certification authorities to different servers, but everything will be running on one server, on a one solution, and all the certification authorities will be providing services from one place. So this is one difference. You can see the logical architecture, and from the high availability point of view, it's then much more simpler. The EJBCA Enterprise depends on the solution of the high availability of the underlying database where the data and configuration are stored. And based on that, everything can be synchronized in an active manner. Different database technologies are supported, like Oracle, MariaDB, Postgres, and so on. And you can have a consistent solution in terms of the PKI in your data centers to achieve the high availability. So again, you can see some picture regarding the physical architecture. Usually you will put a load balancer in front of the services, so then you can really achieve the high availability in terms of the client application. Another part which we will be using during the demonstration is the certificate lifecycle management on the AppViewX platform, which will be the solution where we are going to handle the migration process from the Microsoft certificate or certificate issued by Microsoft CA to the certificate migrated to the EJBCA Enterprise. So we will show you how you can set up the process and how it can be used in order to achieve the goal, and you will see what are the benefits. So the AppViewX is important part, and it's usually used for the lifecycle management of certificates and automation. I will guide you through the process very roughly, and you will see that all of these are important parts during the certificate lifecycle management. So in case, for example, you are not aware of how many certificates you have in the infrastructure, you would like to get some overview, for example, how many self-signed certificates you have and how you would like to migrate them to your centralized solution, how you can manage the certificates, and of course, how you can design the workflows in order to automate the certificate lifecycle management and then provide reporting, for example, regarding the current status of your infrastructure. So all of these are part of the AppViewX platform we will be using in our live demonstration. And a few words about Deloitte. I'm sure that all of you are familiar with the Deloitte. You know the Deloitte because Deloitte is a global company, global brand, and we are part of the cyber risk. We are providing a comprehensive services to our customers, from definition of the cyber strategy to the resilient services, so you can manage the information security consistently, and you can be sure that the information security will enable your business strategy and business goals and wouldn't be any burden for you. In terms of the PKI services, or let's say trust services, in the Deloitte, we have all kind of services related to that, which connects not only to architecture and the design of the public key infrastructure and technologies, but also how you can manage the encryption and cryptography, how you can enable your infrastructure with the regulation and frameworks, how you can create the identity governance in connection with the PKI, and of course, how it can enable you in order to defend your infrastructure, or how you can, for example, react on different issues which may be related to the PKI. One of them, which is most common, is that the certificate is expired or not trusted, and how you can do it. Yeah? So I would say that all of these topics are in our DNA, so we are really in deep in that topics, and how we are cooperating together with our vendors is that we are able to identify the right technology, the right use case, the right opportunities, and we are able to manage the risk associated with the infrastructure and the business goals. Now to the topic. When we are migrating the PKI, the certification authorities, we are using something we call a 5-step migration approach. The 5-step migration approach is usually guiding us through the whole process of the migration. So we are starting with a test migration, and in that phase, we are trying to identify any possible issues which may be related to the migration process. So there may be some non-compliance, non-exportable cryptographic materials, and so on. So all issues like that are identified before the migration process will take place, and we need to find the solution for the identified issues before we will start. The next step is the infrastructure setup, the setup of the new public key infrastructure, which consists of the installation and the configuration of the new setup of the PKI. If there are new HSMs, then how these HSMs will be used, what kind of interfaces should be configured for the certification authorities. We need to know, of course, if the keys should be migrated, or in case it's not possible, we need to use the HSMs which are currently in place. And we need to prepare the profiles for the certificates, which should be consistent with the templates or other information from the old PKI. And when we are using EJBCA Enterprise, the important part is also to set up a management CA, which is then used for the access management to the EJBCA related personnel, which will be using the solution. The third step is the migration of the cryptographic material and the certification authorities. It means that when the keys can be migrated, if they are escrowed or there is a backup of the keys and we are able to use it securely, then the cryptographic keys are imported to the HSM, otherwise are generated. Usually you need to have a formal key ceremony for that part to fulfill the requirements of different standards and regulations. And when this is done, we can migrate the certificate of the certification authorities, and together with them import the current CRLs. So the information regarding revoked certificates will be also in the new solution. When the step is ready, then after this third step, the certification authority is ready to provide the service because the private key is in place, it's ready, and it can be used. The fourth step is consists of the migration of all the certificates and entities if they are available, of course. It means that all certificates should be imported to the new solution, and basically after that the old PKI can be ready for the decommissioning, but usually it's not as easy as to decommission after this step the old PKI, because there may be some integrations, some applications which are still using the old infrastructure, and in that case we are usually running the two PKIs in parallel, and we are defining something we call delta migration process, so we can be sure that during the operation of the both infrastructures everything will be synchronized, and after we know that there is nothing left, we can decommission the old PKI. And the last step is about the validation. So we need to check that everything is working, all the information is published correctly to directories or the web servers. And after that, we can be sure that the new PKI will be running correctly. So this is our 5-step migration approach we are using. As you can see, there may be different variations based on the information or the current situation in the PKI, but usually we can handle all of these using these 5 steps. We will demonstrate the migration on the live environment we have prepared in the cooperation and support with the Tricky company. And this is how the demonstration environment looks like. Yeah. So what's in there? I will start with the Microsoft Active Directory certification services. It's a virtual machine. It's called Lab02, and there the Microsoft CA is running. It's a Microsoft Enterprise CA, and there is a configuration of the web server template which will be used to issue the TLS certificate, and the TLS certificate will be then migrated to the EJBCA Enterprise, which is deployed on a different virtual machine, Lab01. And here we have a configuration of the profiles for the TLS server certificate, which is compliant to what is in the web server template in the Microsoft CA. And what will be used as described previously, AppViewX to manage the migration. The AppViewX is installed on a third virtual machine called Lab03, and the platform is configured to be able to connect to Microsoft CA and the EJBCA Enterprise. So we can check if the connection is working, and then to test the migration process. Yeah. And we will be using the same virtual machine because it's built on top of the Linux as an end entity device, where we can demonstrate how the certificate can be pushed from the AppViewX during the lifecycle management to the location desired, and how it's done, how it can be managed after that, and monitor the status. So this is a simple demonstration journey we will be presenting in a few minutes. What I will show you, the first will be EJBCA Enterprise. So you will see the configuration of the profiles and the certification authorities. Then we will show you the AppViewX platform and how you can do the discovery of the certificates on the certification authority, how you can show the holistic view of the certificate. So in case you would like to know what is the trust chain, what kind of connectors are used for the certificates, and where the certificates should be located, and so on. So this will be shown. Then I will guide you through the CA switch functionality, so you can see how the migration is done through the AppViewX platform. And after that, we will check the result on the EJBCA Enterprise. So we will be looking for the certificate migrated from the Microsoft, and we will check if the information is correct, and then we can see how the certificate can be pushed to the new location. So now is the time. I think that everyone is looking forward for the live demonstration. So I will now open another window. So just a second, you should see it on your screen right now. And this is the administration interface of the EJBCA Enterprise. So from the simple dashboard, you can see that we have a few certification authorities here. The management CA is one we mentioned that is used for the access control to the EJBCA, but then we have a demonstration root CA, which is a root CA, and two authorities issued by the root CA. One is for the purposes of the server certificates, and the second for the client certificates. We will be using in our demonstration the demo server sub CA and the profile of the TLS certificates. How does it works? You can imagine that the profiles are abstraction of the behavior of the certificate. So There is a certificate profile, which controls the attributes of the certificate, and the end entity profile, which controls the behavior of the subject distinguished name and maybe some notifications or validation of the inputs. When I open the certificate profiles, here you can see the demo TLS server and entity certificate profile, which is the configuration. So you can see that here only the keys with the 2K bits are allowed. So in case we will try to issue certificate with a different bit length, then it should be rejected. The validity is 2 years. There are key usage configuration, extended key usage. You can see here that it's a server authentication because we will be issuing TLS certificates, assigned certificate policy, distribution point for the revocation lists, and there are many configurations you can use to configure the behavior of the certificate. Yeah. So, for example, you would like to have the qualified extensions because you are going to issue qualified certificates according to AIDAS, then you can configure in the certificate profile the behavior. And the end entity profile, demo TLS server end entity profile, controls the behavior of the distinguished name, as mentioned. So this is the representation actually of the end entity. And here you can configure what should be inside the DN and what should be the behavior. Something can be required, modifiable, or you can even do some validation. So we can restrict here that we would like to only be able to issue certificates from some particular profiles, particular CAs which are available, or what kind of cryptographic token should be available. So in case of the P12, for example, JKS or PEM, the key can be generated on EJBCA. In case of user generated, it means that we are submitting the CSR in order to issue the certificate. So I'm not going in detail for all explanation of all the attributes, but you can configure another things as you can see for the behavior of the end entity. So this is the basic configuration we are going to use for the demonstration of the migration of the certificate. And after that, we will come back to the EJBCA to see that the certificate is really here, that it's really issued, and we can check the attributes inside if they are correct according what we will be configuring on the AppViewX platform. So, okay, now I'm going to switch to the AppViewX. So it will be a different window again. Just a second, and you should see it now. I need to log in. Yeah. So now I'm logged into the AppViewX platform. Again, there are many things. I'm not going through all of them. If you are interested, you can ask and we can come back to you. But what is important for our demonstration of the migration is the inventory of the certificates, which is here. And you can see the list of all certificates which are currently managed in the AppViewX platform. And here is the settings, which is a configuration of the certification authorities. So I can show you only that we have the Microsoft CA connected here. I will check the connection. Yeah, so connection is working. And we have a EJBCA configured. And great, it's working also. So we have a connection to both authorities, and we should be able to do the migration. How I'm going to do it? I will Create first the certificate on the Microsoft Certification Authority based on a web server template, which we will use then to show how you can use the CA switch functionality and migrate the certificate to the EJBCA Enterprise. Yeah. So here is the button create, and I will assign, for example, the default group. I would like to use the Microsoft Enterprise Authority, and let's call it webcast certificate. Mistake. Webcast certificate. We will use different hash function. We will use the 2K RSA key, and we will use the web server template to create the certificate. Okay, hot. So now you can see what we are calling the holistic view of the certificate. So now it's basic because we are going to create the CSR and submit it for the issuing of the certificate. Submit, and now we are following the two-step approval process to submit the CSR. So now the CSR is ready. We are approving that we would like to submit the CSR, and when it's approved, we can implement. When I click on implement, the certificate is actually sent to the certification authority and issue. So submit failed. Now we can see what is the problem when I click on that. And I can see that there was an error during the SSL handshake with the remote server. So in that case, when something failed, which is in our case, you can try to resubmit in the same manner as we were doing. So let's try that. Approve the CSR. And now implement. Yeah, and the submission failed. So apparently there is some issue with the connection, because the approval process was correct, all information filled correctly, and the CSR submission failed because of the handshake. So I will choose a certificate which we currently have in order to show the migration. And yeah, so maybe try another. I will create the certificate again on the enterprise, and webcast demo. I will choose a smaller hash function, which may be an issue because of the configuration, and let's see if the problem persists. So now you can see the usual risk with the live demonstration, that something is not working as expected, but I believe we can handle it. Implement the certificate. Yeah, and the submission failed again. So okay, let's choose the certificate which we currently have in place. So I can choose the Microsoft certificates to see what we currently have. And for example, let's take the test client certificate. If I open the holistic view, I can see that this is the trust chain of the certificate. I can see that the certificate with the DN called the test client migrate was issued by the Microsoft sub CA, and it was issued by the demo root CA. So this is the complete chain. It was issued in the Microsoft Enterprise CA, and I have a connector to the Wildfly where the certificate is pushed. Yeah. So in case I would like to migrate the certificate, then what I need to do is to click on the certificate, and from the actions menu, I can use the CA switch functionality. So let's do this. And now I can choose what should be the target certification authority I would like to use. So in that case, it's the EJBCA. So let's call it the webcast demo migration. Okay, save. And now I can see the overview of the migration. Here I can see the status, which is saying to me that the certificate is not ready to migrate. This is because the template and the profile is not in the compliant way, so they are not consistent. And in that terms, we need to update CSR to provide information we need to have in order to migrate. Yeah, so here I can see that the organization is a mandatory field. So let's put here tricky company, and we have an email address hash function. I know that in profile we have a 2K key, so let's put it here, and entity called webcast demo migration. So we are issuing for the TLS server and entity profile from the authority demo server sub CA, and the profile of the certificate will be the TLS server and entity certificate profile. Yeah, so let's update it, and now I can see that the certificate status for the migration is ready to migrate, meaning that all validation are correct, and we can start the migration process. I can see here also that the source CA is a Microsoft Enterprise, so it will be migrated to EJBCA. Now I will click on the certificate and submit it, and we will follow the same process as with issuing the certificate. So we need to prepare the CSR, we need to approve it, and after that the implementation will take place. Yeah, so let's do it. Now we are approving the CSR. And now we can implement. Implementation is in progress. We can refresh, and now we can see that the process was completed. Also, I can click on that so I can see the status of all steps which were done. So what kind of attributes were inside the CSR, approval, who approves the CSR also with the attributes, the implementation of the migrated certificate, and then the certificate signing request submission, which was done, and now there is no issue. So when I will go back to the list of all certificates, now I can see here a new test client certificate with a different serial number, and I can see that it's now issued from the demo server sub CA, which is a certification authority in the EJBCA Enterprise, not in the Microsoft Enterprise CA. When I click on it, I will see the holistic view. So also from that, I can see that the trust chain is different. I can see that it was issued by the EJBCA connector. So now the certificate with all this information should be registered in the EJBCA Enterprise. Yeah, so what we can do, we can now check if this is true. So I will switch back to the EJBCA. Now you should see it, and we can go through the search of all end entities, and we can search all entities which are currently in the EJBCA Enterprise to see if there is the certificate migrated by us. So the certificate we are looking for is the test client certificate, and entity name should be webcast demo migration. So it should be the certificate which is here. If I open the certificate of the end entity, I will just switch so you can see it. Yeah, you can see it right now. So it's a certificate issued right now, and based on the certificate serial number, which starts with the 6F43, we can check if it's the certificate is the same certificate as in the AppViewX. Yeah, so let's check it. Let's go back to the AppViewX. And yeah, we can see that the serial number starts with the same characters, so it should be the same. So now the certificate is migrated, and what we can do, we can configure what we would like to do with the certificate as a further steps. For example, I would like to push it to the Linux server, which is pre-configured. So I will choose the Linux server and choose the one which is registered. And let's say that I would like to push the certificate to the temporary directory with the name webcast demo.crt. If I would like to, I can also click on the option to push automatically. So let's save it. And I'm following another approval process. So this is something which is not mandatory, you know. So in case you don't want to have a approval process in place, but usually it's a best practice, then you can remove it, and the certificate can be implemented and pushed to the end device without any approvals. So now we will wait for the deployment, and then we can check that the certificate is really there. Yeah. All of these tasks, what I'm currently doing and showing, they can be, of course, automated because everything is done through API. So in case you would like to do the migration for 1,000 or 1 million certificate, it shouldn't be any issue. Yeah. So now I'm waiting. Yeah, now I can see that the operation is completed. Green means that it's in sync with the device, as you can see on the right side. And what we can do now is that we will check that it's true. I will log in to the server. So you should see the server right now. And here I have a temporary directory. And I can see, I believe that you are able to see it. I'm not sure if the font is small or not for you, but you can see that the webcast demo certificate is here. It was pushed to the device during the webcast, and we can open the content of the certificate. So you can see that it's really the certificate we wanted to push to the device. So it's a webcast demo CRT. And here I can see that the end entity certificate is the same. Yeah. So we were able to successfully push the certificate to the end device. Now I will go back to the AppViewX. And the last thing I would like to show you, what I was mentioning also, is how you can do the discovery, which is usually the part where you would like to find out what kind of certificates you have in your infrastructure, and or what certificates are in your certification authority. So you can have a list and to start to manage all certificates according to defined lifecycle and workflow. So for that purpose, you have a discover here in AppViewX, where you can define what you would like to discover. So for the demonstration, I will create a new discovery. Let's call it webcast discovery. And I will say that I would like to discover all certificates from the certificate authority. I will use the EJBCA. There is a configuration of the parallel execution. I will keep it. Let's put discovered certificate into the group of the default, and do not move the certificate. So we should decide after the discovery what we would like to do. So now I will click on the discover, and the discovery is started. So it's in progress right now. It means that currently the AppViewX is communicating with the EJBCA Enterprise, and when it will be finished, we should see all certificates which were discovered in the tab of the certificates, and we can decide what we would like to do with them. Yeah. So now you can see the success. When I click on the certificates, you can see all the certificates that are in the EJBCA Enterprise. Together with one, we were migrating. Yeah, and you can decide, you can click on the certificate, so you would like to discover, manage on monitor, so you can do whatever you want. So this was the demonstration of how you can easily migrate the certificates. In case you would like to know more, don't hesitate to ask us. We will be answering your questions. And now I will switch back to the presentation. Just a second. Okay. And I will say a few words after the demonstration. Uh, when you would like to migrate, or when you would like to consolidate your PKI infrastructure, so usually, as you can see, and based on the webcast we had, there are many triggers which can start to have some requirements for the consolidation and migration, and usually these are about new regulations or standards which may arise during the operation. And in that case, you, for example, are not able to fulfill the requirements through the technology you are currently using. So it can be a trigger for your migration and consolidation. You have a different technologies, nothing is consistent. So you would like to be more effective, and you don't want to waste time of your personnel. So in that case, you can migrate all certification authorities and consolidate in one technology. There are maybe new functionalities which are coming, and your vendor is not able to respond on time, and you need to use it. So new functionalities can be something you should be looking for, and at least to monitor what you would like to do. There may be some changes in your business model. So how you are operating your public key infrastructure, or the services which are providing by the certification authorities. So as you know, there may be many different use cases, like the authentication and signing and so on. And also, the one of the important topic which we are discussing many times with our customers is the software which has a discontinued support. Usually it's some legacy software, or maybe some in-house built PKI software which is not supported because of the fluctuancy of the personnel in the company, so there is no one to support it anymore, and the client applications are dependent on it. So this is also something that can trigger, and you will need to migrate and to consolidate your PKI infrastructure. And the last word I would like to tell is about some important aspects we can see during the projects, and where we are able to help to our customers. And these are really important also in terms of the future management of your certification authorities or the public key infrastructure. Yeah. So what is worth to mention, there are many more of course, but what is worth to mention is a consolidated infrastructure, because in that case you can be much more effective, and in that case the benefit is the reduced operational costs. You should be able, and you should look for to know status of your certificates, of your infrastructure, how many of certificates you have, how many self-signed, how many are issued by publicly trusted CAs, how many are internal, and so on. So you can monitor the status, and then you can see if there are some certificates which are going to expire, or is there any issue which can create outage. The automation is very important in case you are issuing many certificates, so you don't have to spend much time with the routine tasks, and this can be done by the different workflows. The agility is the topic which comes today more and more. Is about changing the algorithms inside the certificates. As you know, you cannot change the certificate because the structure is signed cryptographically, so it shouldn't be possible. But in case some algorithms are starting to be deprecated, or there is an issue with something, you should be able to respond quickly and to change the algorithm. So this is about the agility. Multi-tenancy, from our point of view, is something which you should also look for, because in that case you are operating the whole solution in the consistent way, and it will reduce the overhead with the configuration and the management of different servers and the technologies. And of course, the support is very important, and I believe that we are able to help you, and we as a reputable and innovative companies, very skilled and experienced in the PKI topics, we can support you. And from my perspective, you should be also looking for such help, because this is important in case you have some critical applications connected with the PKI. So this is it about the migration. You can see our contacts on the last slide. Don't hesitate to contact us. I'm going to see if we have time. I think we are currently at the end of the webcast. So I will check if we have any questions. Yes, so I can see that we have some questions in here, but I think we don't have much time to answer. So let's do it like that. We will do a follow-up. We will do a follow-up on your questions, and in case you would like to ask us anything about the migration process, about the PKI, about the automation, and all important aspects that we were mentioning, then do so. You have a contact. The presentation was recorded, so we will distribute also the link for the YouTube, where you can find the presentation. So whenever you would like to come back to any information presented during the webcast, you should be able. And yeah, from my side, that's it. It's everything. So I would like to thank you for the listening, and we'll come back to you. Thanks and have a nice day. Bye bye.